Just so you know, the Dad Space podcast is not responsible for unsolicited dad advice at family gatherings, home improvement stores, or barbecues.
Hey, it's Dave. And guess what? Episode 200 of Dad Space. 200. I will pause for a small amount of applause. That actually rhymed. That's right, 200 episodes of Dad Space, and you're still here. If this is your first time here, you've got 199 other episodes of Dad Space to go listen to, so you got some homework. But if this is your return trip to Dad Space, you know where your seat is, you know where all the snacks are, and we got some extra snacks today because it's 200 episodes, everybody. So I'm really thrilled to be here with you. So instead of just having an episode where Dave just goes on and on and on about how much I love my Dad Space audience and Dad Space the podcast and all things Dad Space, how about we just get into content like normal? And yeah, I just thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the Dad Space family, celebrating with you 200 episodes. I want to talk about how we as dads label our kids, and that the words that we choose when describing, introducing, talking about, thinking about our kids matter. Do you remember those little label makers we used to have? And you can get a digital one a long time ago. It was like a strip, like a strip of like the backing of like you peel off and it would stick onto the wall. But it would like, you'd have this letter thing and you'd turn the dial and you'd push it and it would indent the letter into this. Yeah, anyways, it was really old. But anyways, you would make labels, and labels are great. You can put them on file folders. You can put them on cupboards. You can put them on your tools. You can put them on whatever. And these labels are helpful because you know what they are, and it helps you to find things when you normally lose things. So in a different way, we label our kids. We do it all the time. We sometimes don't even think about the labels we attribute to our children. And I'm just wondering if this is a helpful thing, labeling our kids, or if it's maybe not so great. So I want to talk today about how labeling our kids could actually be doing more harm than good. And maybe we need to think about and rethink how we label our kids. That's kind of the focus for today. So thanks for being here. Again, happy 200, everybody. Glad you're here. Let's jump in. As dads, we apply labels to our kids. Something just happens, whether intended as praise or sometimes we use it as criticism. It can really profoundly shape a child's sense of identity, what we label our kids as. It also shapes their behavior and what opportunities they believe that are open to them in the future. It is really the beginning of a road. It is signs. It is a map that we're laying out in front of them as we label our kids. As parents, we really need to be careful with the language we use when talking about our kids, especially from a dad's perspective. It's essential for your child's long-term mental health and self-worth to be not putting on labels that limit our kids from the beginning. Why do labels stick to kids so well? Like when you put a sticker on something and then you try to take it off and it's really hard to get that sticker off. It's on there good. I think the labels we put on our kids, they're on there really good. They leave some residue. They're really hard to take off and they're pretty permanent. So be careful what you label your kids as. It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy for your children as they internalize how you describe them. They feel pressure to live up or live down your expectations set by significant adults in their lives. These labels from teachers and parents and leaders in their world really shape them. These negative and positive labels can really limit the development for your kids. Negative labels can really attack your kids' self-esteem, while positive labels can create a sense of anxiety at times if a child feels that they have to maintain the trait at all times. So an example, if you were to introduce your son or daughter and you're introducing them to friends and family and go, this is my son, this is my daughter, they're a straight A student. Okay, seems harmless, right? In that moment, you're praising them, the straight A student. They're amazing. But now, what does that say to your kids? In that moment, you're saying to your kid, don't break this cycle for me. Don't take away the sense of pride that you're a straight A student. Don't you ever get a B. Don't you ever get a C. Oh my gosh. If you ever got a D, what would I do? It's a label. Your kid is smart. Okay. What about a label that says, this is my son and he's shy? In that moment, it doesn't really seem harmless, does it? When your son is kind of hiding behind your legs and people are like trying to see him, but he doesn't want to be seen, so he's hiding behind you. Oh, that's my son, he's shy. When we put a label like that on him, all he hears is, I'm shy. And growing up, that's all he knows. I'm the shy kid. I was the shy kid. And that's how I was introduced to people. This is my son and he's shy. Oh, he doesn't like to talk to people. He's shy. And that's a thing that lives over top of you like this cloud. And harmless as it may seem in the moment, I was labeled as a shy kid. And I'm in my 50s, and I'm still a shy kid. Really. It's my label. And it's really hard to take off. A label can be negative or positive, but can have a really negative impact. Repeated language from parents, especially dads, becomes truth for a kid, impacting their relationships with their peers, teachers, and eventually shaping their opportunities. Labels stick to kids. They really do. But how do we break through these negative labels? One approach that we can use as dads is to praise specific behaviors instead of attaching a label for a fixed identity to our kids. So for example, specific behavior. You showed a lot of kindness today, rather than you are always kind. See, when we put the word always, that's an absolute. That's a thing that people have to live up to now. I'm always a kind person. I'm never not kind. But identify the specific behavior that was displayed by your kid in the moment and praise it. You always showed kindness today in that. You were very patient today. Instead of saying, my son's patient. You're always patient. Any kind of kindness, anything you can bring out like that, then identify the specific behavior instead of a fixed identity for your kids, and make room for new interests and highlight effort, not just the outcome or somebody's natural giftings and ability. Encourage repeated positive self-talk and let your kids know that change is always possible, and identify what isn't set in stone for your kids. And one thing we can do as dads then is also just model openness and vulnerability as a parent, showing that everyone can learn, grow, and change. We need to model it ourselves. So as we think about our kids and we think about labels, again, remember, stick to kids and they affect their behavior by influencing how they view themselves, what others expect of them, and the opportunities that they pursue. Making every word a dad says deeply important for a child's sense of identity. Children are sponges, okay? They absorb everything that they're told with a surprising amount of sensitivity, especially from the parents and people that they admire, from their family members. Repeated labels, whether troublemaker, shy, smart, become internalized as a truth, as a fact. And these labels can shape a child's self-concept, and over time, they begin to see themselves mainly through the lens of those labels that have been given to them by others. Even labels that are meant for good, that are meant to praise, can be limiting when they're put on our kids and the kids get put into a box or create an unrealistic expectation that our kids have to live up to in the future. Every supportive conversation helps to untangle the hurt of old labels. And I'm sure there's probably a bunch of old labels your kids are wrestling with today. I think as dads, we should have a conversation with our kids about the labels they feel like they have and what they're living up to, and maybe what they're struggling under the weight of. And ask your kids, what kind of labels have I put on you? Like what have you heard me say about you? And listen to your kids. Listen to you might not like it, but listen to your kids and the response of what they think you think of them and some of the words that they've heard you say in front of them or behind their back. There's always a chance to reinvent and grow. There's always a chance to make things better. So again, let's go back to the idea of focusing on the behavior, right? More than a fixed identity. So you showed kindness today. You were patient today. I loved how you handled that. You played a great game today. Instead of, you are the best player on the team. Probably you're not the best player on the team, right? You showed kindness today. Instead of, you are always kind. Those labels, they may be meant to be encouragement. They may be meant to be something that makes somebody's day better. But they can also be an anchor, a weight, something that holds people down, pulls them under, or a bar raised so high that they can never, ever reach that level. What kind of labels are you throwing on your kids? And how can we make it better? Ask your kids, ask your partner, and adjust. 200 episodes of Dad Space. I'm glad you're here. And I'm thankful for you participating in this show. Thank you for allowing me to have time with you over the last 200 episodes. I'm looking forward to the next 200 and more great stuff around Dad Space. Truly appreciate you being here. And thank you. And we'll talk again soon. Get out there, dads. Talk to your kids. And take off some of those labels. It might be sticky to get all the residue off of that sticky label. But I think your kids are going to do better. Thanks for being here. Take care. Talk soon. Hey, thanks for sticking around here to the end of Dad Space. I appreciate you for pressing play and being a part of our community at dadspace.ca is the website, as always. And if you are interested and you'd like to fill up our cup, because dads, we drink coffee. So, hey, anytime you feel the need to say, I want to give David coffee, I would love it. I would appreciate it. I take 2 cream in my coffee, no sugar, because it's not a soda for our American friends. It's a coffee. Just cream. What do you take in your coffee? Let me know at dadspace.ca. If you want to support the show, there's a buy me a coffee right there. Love to fill up my cup, and I thank you in advance. And thank you for being part of Dad Space. We'll talk soon.